Hello, welcome to Futbol the Europa podcast. This is your host Blaze. Alongside me today is Carlos. Welcome, Carlos. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, and Sean will be joining us shortly. He is not here right now, but he should be here by a couple of minutes. So, let's talk about Champions League and the league games. We'll talk about both of them because it's interesting. And Manchester City has won twice against Spurs, but still it's the Spurs who emerge as eventual winners.
True, with Spurs knocking out Man City and the possibility of facing Ajax in the semi-finals gives them a very good chance to be a finalist in Champions League. Guess it's probably the first time ever. So it's a great opportunity for them right now. And Man City, I felt, paid the price for, or rather Pep, I would say, paid the price for being very conservative in the first leg. Obviously, the second leg, I felt they were slightly unlucky in terms of the Llorente goal, but still overall, I wouldn't say they lost because of that decision or anything like that. I just felt that overall, they were poor in the first leg, and that's what cost them. But they showed great mental strength to win the league game, which is now very vital for them because that's the only major trophy that they have left for in the season.
Yeah, but we should note that Spurs were termed as Hurricane team by Pep Guardiola initially in this year.
I think it's first season when he was in first Man City season.
Yeah, and Pochettino was like, okay, we are not just Hurricane team, we are more of a team, and without buying any players, they did it against one of the best teams in Europe.
Completely well deserved. A lot of praise for Poch. What he has done in Spurs is completely amazing.
Yeah.
This match in particular is great, obviously, because they managed to do it without Kane. So yeah, fantastic. It's super exciting to see that semi-final, both Ajax and Man City.
That's true. And I would also like to talk about Marcelo Bielsa because he's the guy who isn't much hyped by anyone, and the only time he made headlines was when the stalking case happened in Leeds United and stuff. But yes, Johan Cruyff deserves the whole credit because of Ajax and Barcelona doing well, and even for the second leg in Pep Guardiola's game plan and all that stuff. But Marcelo Bielsa had a pupil called Pochettino, and he is now demonstrating that you don't need big funds or you don't need big players, but you can make it happen if you give it some time and if you really instill the philosophy into the players and into the younger players and even non-European players. Like who would have thought that Korean players would have found such a place in a European club?
Correct. Fantastic game by them. The best part about this particular part that you told about Bielsa is obviously Pochettino has been a very dedicated pupil of Bielsa. I believe Pep Guardiola has also met Bielsa a couple of times and talked to him. I believe Pep Guardiola even rated Bielsa highly. He once mentioned that Bielsa is the best coach in the world. I remember Bielsa coaching Atletico Bilbao. I think 2011, 12, something like that. They were quite a strong side at that point of time. Very difficult to play against at that point of time. Surprised he never I don't know whether he got big offers and he never took them, or he chose not to take them, or what it was, or he never got offers from big clubs. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why his stock is quite low.
Yeah. Also, once it happened that he was playing against Pep's Barcelona, and he went to Pep and said, "Okay, I would like to share some of the tactics about Barcelona and some of the statistics and information regarding your team." And after the whole discussion and stuff, Pep Guardiola said that you know more about Barcelona than I do, and that's really a very high compliment from a coach like Pep Guardiola. So yeah, it's no secret that he's one of the most analytical managers around, and maybe he's more like Mourinho type guy who chooses to go to clubs which are more like which have been underdogs and have more to achieve rather than going to some big club and winning the league and stuff. He goes for the development process and stuff. Also because of his style and coaching philosophy, he needs a club which gives him time and stuff. He cannot just go and just say, okay, I go to Bayern Munich and I'll just win the league and stuff. So it is what it is. So moving on, Liverpool is doing great, but is 1 point behind in the EPL and is in the semi-finals for Champions League facing Barcelona.
They're back on top now, I think, because they defeated Cardiff, right? Today, yeah, so they're back on top.
I'll just check the live table, but I guess they are 1 point behind. Oh no, yeah, they're 2. But Manchester City has one game behind.
Game in hand. So
game in hand. Yep. So it's very easy for City if they win every game. League is league is in their hands, and it was I wasn't surprised by Liverpool versus Porto result. It was a expected result. But what is interesting is the upcoming semi-final with Barcelona. What are your thoughts about that?
Stylistically speaking, this is the perfect kind of match that you want to see. Barcelona will try to play not a pure possession-based game that they used to do before, but it will still be possession-oriented. And Liverpool will definitely play a high pressing game with gegenpressing and swift counterattacks. So stylistically speaking, this is perfectly built for an attacking game. I don't know whether both sides will or either of the sides will try to be a little conservative or not, but this is the perfect game from a stylistic point of view to watch, like as a neutral fan.
That is true, and if you're a betting person, you can bet that it will be a high scoring game with like minimum of 3 or 4 goals. You can guarantee it. And also I think Liverpool can punish Barcelona in the ways Manchester United couldn't. Like they had the chances when they pressed, but they couldn't finish them, and they weren't consistent enough for the whole 90 minutes, and Barcelona took advantage of it. But if Liverpool learn from the mistakes of their arch rivals and they can execute a phenomenal game plan and they can eliminate Barca, it's not a big deal.
If Barcelona played anything like how they played against United in the first leg, I think Liverpool will dismantle them. But then
even in the start of the second leg, Barcelona weren't so good, and Messi said that we cannot start games like this in such a stage.
Correct. So yeah, basically they will have to they'll have to definitely bring in their A game, and the worst side would be is that if they don't bring in their A game, you can expect Liverpool to run ragged.
So Sean is now with us. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, Bliss. Hi, Carlos. Good to join you guys.
Yep, and it's a pleasure to have you. So we were talking about Liverpool and the preview of Barcelona game. So as Carlos stated that if Barcelona don't have their pinpoint perfection on that day, then they will be eliminated by Liverpool. And I guess Barcelona need Messi more than ever right now, and he's the main difference maker. And you can also note that from the comments of Jurgen Klopp and Van Dijk. who said that it's not really a job to stop Messi, and we are not even thinking of that because that's kind of impossible. But I don't think that you should really give up on that because Bayern Munich, who was the coach of Bayern Munich that time? Jupp Heynckes once said that I have a plan to stop Messi, I have a plan to stop Barcelona, and he went on to defeat Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate. And I guess that's the kind of confidence Liverpool need right now. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I tell you what, basically Liverpool are in a run of form right now, especially with how the league is going. That's why they're keeping up such a high tempo, and to be able to do what they did, even with a side not even with, but with a side like Porto's just outscoring them on as a visitor to their place 1-4. It's crazy that they traveled and did all that. And I guess you're right. I mean, Barca's defense isn't at its greatest right now. I think they lined up with, I think, Umtiti and Piqué normally in centre backs, and it's just with so fast players right now, with Mane in such a run of form. I mean, his first goal, and I think Salah's second goal for account? I can't remember. I think it's Cardiff, yeah. Yeah, there's too many goals coming from Liverpool right now. And it's just, I mean, and then you have a defender like Van Dijk, so tall, target man in the box. That's what you need. That's what you want in a defender, to be strong and just in corners and set pieces, just to be there. That defending or attacking, the goalkeeper or the attackers have a reassurance. Oh, we have one more target to shoot at. And yeah.
Yep, and it's also interesting about the league race. And we were talking about Manchester City having the league in their hand if they win every game from now on. And I just want to know your thoughts on it as a United fan.
I mean, I'd rather City be winning at this point, so I don't listen to Liverpool supporters, as well as the fact that, I mean, yeah, okay, just running back to what you guys discussed, the Spurs and Man City match. Let's go back to what I said last week. I expected them to win, so they did. And anyway, so that was an amazing match. VAR is another big thing to discuss, I guess. But all in all, I'm still amazed that they won. But in terms of the league, I think Man City have the depth, have the form to just win 4 more matches. The league is theirs to lose. I think that's why Pep is more concerned with. But let's be honest, Spurs can ruin their day. They already beat Spurs 1-0.
Yeah,
they already beat Spurs 1-0 despite losing to them. How many times on the go already? Twice. I mean, so yeah, it's this league race between Liverpool and Man City. It's sort of null and void, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were talking about. Like, Spurs lost twice to Manchester City and still emerged as the eventual winners. Anyways, moving on to Juve versus Ajax, and I told you guys Ajax would knock out Juve, and it's no surprise to me. So I'm sorry for a lot of fans of CR7 because I really don't know much Juve fans who were supporting Juve from like years. And anyway, it's pretty much Juve's UCL right now, I guess. I predict them winning the UCL title.
Juve's UCL? You mean Ajax?
Oh, sorry, Ajax. My bad.
So yeah, initially before the tie started, like the two-legged tie started, I did feel that Juventus was too strong against Ajax. And I just did not feel Ajax would be able to take another scab. But after the first leg, I was more optimistic with Ajax. I felt they played really well, and they showed that in the second leg. Again, like I said, Ajax and Spurs both have a great opportunity to come and win their semi-finals and become a finalist. Like I mentioned before, I think Ajax have a little bit of a mental push with this because This Ajax team is going to disintegrate sooner rather than later. Already FTJ is gone. I wouldn't be shocked if Ligt is bought by Barcelona or some other club. FTJ is currently already bought by Barcelona. So basically we have I think the fact that this team is going to get disintegrated soon will have that push for them to win something very similar to what they did the last time when they won the Champions League under Louis van Gaal. So it's going to be I feel that extra motivation that they have might actually push them over Spurs, and I would give them a little bit of an advantage over Spurs.
Yeah, and Spurs versus Ajax was a game which I was expecting in the final. I hoped for a final, but yeah, it wasn't happening because of the draw and stuff. But I really wanted an underdog to win this time, and so yeah, Ajax seems like a more of a determined team which is on a mission. And especially looking at the comments of De Jong, you cannot really say that this team is a younger team or this team doesn't has much experience in UCL or stuff. Like, they are
Very
confident,
fearless.
confident
Fearless.
as fuck and fearless, like phenomenal mentality. And moving on, I would also like to say that yes, they have a lot of players, but one of the Ajax players which I like is Ziyech. And what are your thoughts about that?
Ziyech plays really well in that system because they have Tidic, I think not number 9, the false 9, who's perfect on the system and who makes good use of both Ziyech and Neres' space. Ziyech is actually a player that doesn't get talked about a lot in Ajax, I felt, mainly because all the plaudits go to both De Jong and De Ligt. But Ziyech is a great player, great speed, was fantastic in the World Cup. I remember him in Morocco in the World Cup. He was fantastic. Probably not a finished article, but great player. I don't know. There's a lot of market for him also. To be fair, not a lot of players, teams are looking at right-sided wingers, and a lot of them would probably look for somebody who's a bigger name than Ziyech right now. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, great player. Obviously, fantastic in that system.
Yeah, but after UCL, they will have a lot of buyers, I'm sure. What are your thoughts about that, Sean?
I think Man U is looking for a right winger. Honestly, our state of team is okay. We'll move on to that later with the Barca thing. But yeah, it's something I didn't expect. So kudos to you, Bliss. I wasn't expecting this result of 1-2 them going through. I mean, with a team like Juve, I mean, you would have expected them to just outscore them in Turin. It's to lose at home as well. I mean, they've got a team with like Amrin Chan. They started with Dybala and Ronaldo in the front. They've got Sami Khedira in the bench, and I'm just like, well, look, I'm just surprised. I don't know what else to say. You were right. It's just they just went in with nothing else to lose and ended up winning.
Yeah, because Ajax is a team and Juve isn't really much of a team. And see, Ronaldo is a X factor which you can add on to your team to win the Champions League. It's not that any team can have Ronaldo and win the Champions League. It's not that like that any time. And also Ronaldo had some gestures after the game, and I won't go in detail about that, but it seems like he is not happy with his teammates' performance, and he is I was reading a stat that all the 5 goals of Juve in the knockout stages were scored by Cristiano himself. So yeah, he doesn't have much to do, but do you see him staying at Juve for long? I don't see him staying there for more than 1 or 2 more years.
I think he'll stay there.
Because reports are saying if he doesn't win the Champions League next season, then he'll be leaving.
So this is an interesting conversation since you brought it up. So I do think he'll stay in Juve because whichever next club that he could go to would only be potentially a downgrade. I can't see him come back to Real Madrid.
Bayern München.
I don't think Bayern
New
Munich...
challenge, new league.
I don't think Bayern Munich will buy him because Juventus
Yeah.
will not sell him for cheap, and
No.
Bayern Munich is not the kind of club that will buy such a expensive older player.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
Bayern Munich won't pay that money, like Carlos said. It's too ridiculous to pay for his price.
I know a club who has a league title in pocket and will pay that money.
PSG?
Yep.
I maybe.
Maybe.
And it's not a bad idea to retire at PSG. It's still you were contending for the Champions League, and league title is in your pocket, and you can still have like 30-40 goals in PSG. Like Pape has already 30 goals.
So like you mentioned, in terms of how you mentioned that Juventus, they bought in Ronaldo thinking that he's the final piece of the puzzle in terms of winning the Champions League. Clearly, that was not the case. I think now Juventus is in a very bad situation. In terms that they have currently a very aging squad. The window of opportunity in which they can get Ronaldo and use him to win a Champions League, I think, ends next year.
Yeah.
Because they need to start replacing a lot of the older players, Bonucci, Chiellini, their midfield, stuff like that. And I don't think so they actually have the money for it in terms of making such a huge investment. And I think after next year onwards, there is going to be a decline in Cristiano Ronaldo's performance. Though it won't be as significant as other players, and then he would not be able to win the Champions League. And this is why I say I feel that if next year he does not win the Champions League, he may never have more than 5 Ballon d'Ors, which is very important too.
Yeah, and talking about Ballon d'Or, I guess Messi is going to sway each and every individual title this season.
Clearly, so I'm saying the best possible opportunity is next year where Ronaldo could tie 6-6. But I think after that, I don't expect him to win more easily, because even if he goes to PSG, he'll have the same problem.
Yeah.
Winning the league is not a big deal in Juventus or at PSG. You have to win the Champions League, and I'm not sure he can do it at either club. He has a better chance at PSG, I would say, because they have the possibility to invest more, but I'm not sure how much because of the FFP problems. But yeah, basically, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I sometimes think that PSG will let go of Neymar and they'll keep Mbappe and they can buy some big name after that. But I don't see any other club buying Neymar right now.
Correct. So yeah, I think both Juventus and Ronaldo, in terms of their personal ambitions, are in a bad spot right now.
Yeah. Also, you sent me some screenshot of Emre Can. He was abusing his players, his teammates and his coach. I don't know if it was true or it was from a parody account or something like that. Anyways, moving on to Barca vs United. Hello Sean, how are you?
Look, you started this podcast not only on the back of that Barca match, on the back of last night's Everton match. I don't know what to say.
We are yet to talk about Everton right now. We haven't talked about it.
Don't even.
We also have a non-Patreon question for you.
Hit me. I mean, 3-0 to Barca at Camp Nou. I mean, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's Barca, it's Messi. And then yesterday I was watching the match, 4-0 to Everton away. I'm just like, look, you know what? I'm done. I switched off at 2-0 at half time. I'm just like, I'm not watching this anymore.
I can understand your pain. And as I said last week, that losing 1-0 to Barcelona at home is kind of a badge of honor for a team like Manchester United, who is in crisis right now. Which is in crisis right now. Anyways, and you see, Manchester United are to fault. Like, they had their chances. They knew the way. It's not like they didn't know how to unlock Barcelona's defense. They knew that if we press hard, we will have our chances. We can finish them. They were even successful in doing that for a couple of times. But eventually, it's their own loss because they didn't execute it properly enough.
Yeah, it's I think beating Barcelona on any day, I think it's pretty. I wouldn't say it's easy job for any of the players, but I think it's slightly more straightforward than, say, teams like, I don't know, Liverpool, where they have speed and a good defense right now. I can't believe I'm praising Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, it was already a difficult job just seeing them go all the way to Spain, play at Barca. I mean, I think there were a couple injuries as well. I mean, and like lining up with a front three like Rashford, Martial, and Lingard. I'm just like, oh, okay. I think we're going to play fast. We're going to play hard. And it did happen in the first few minutes. I mean, Rashford immediately hit the crossbar, right?
Yep.
And I mean, like the question states, it's not just a dip in form. I think it's across the years. If you
we'll come back to the question later on.
Sorry, yeah.
No worries. And also that De Gea had a very curious moment, and it happened to him in the World Cup with Ronaldo, and now with Messi in the Champions League. It's kind of a worrying factor for a goalkeeper of his stature. And I was reading a stat of Manchester United conceding the most amount of goals, like 48 goals in the EPL season, and there are still more games to go. So, are you worried about that?
I'm not really worried about that. I mean, De Gea performed a fantastic save yesterday in the Everton match, and I think he's still up there as one of the best goalkeepers. It's one of those things where he doesn't have a good defense in front of him.
Yeah.
And you end up seeing more, quote unquote, like more mistakes because there's just more shots towards him. I would guess. I mean, just look at the state of it sometimes when you're watching them play, and you just realize that, oh yeah, the defenders aren't closing down as easily. I mean, honestly, the first goal by Messi, I think, was it Messi? Yes, the first goal by Messi.
Yeah, that was a piece of art.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was great. But like, I mean, the defenders could have done more. Coutinho's goal as well. I mean, letting him have a shot from outside the box with so much space, right? You let a player like Coutinho or Messi or Suarez take that shot. It's a 50-50 chance between them and the keeper already.
Yeah.
I don't even blame De Gea. The defenders didn't close them down.
Yeah.
And De Gea's mistake is just, you're gonna have, when you have so many shots against you, 1 out of 100 times, no matter how good of a keeper you are, you're gonna end up making a mistake like that. And honestly, I look at the replay over and over again. I don't think it was sort of a mistake. I think it's just because it's a play of De Gea's stature that the media are playing it up. I look at it and I said, yeah, the ball went fast. He reacted. He did well. But it is just the same thing as the keeper having an arm out stretched all the way to the side and just tipping it, but the ball's still going in. It's just him not. In that sense, he's not tipping it, but he didn't reach there in time as well with the side of his body.
Yep.
That's how I look at it. And I mean, it like, it's just one of those days where Man United had a run of form. They're watching a loss of form again. I think a couple of players are injured or out of contention as well, and it's just one of those things, and it's not fair to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that he's inheriting a squad that he hasn't had a choice to work with.
Yeah.
So
We'll come back to that later on. And the last point I want to mention about Barcelona is that Coutinho's gesture at Camp Nou after scoring, then later on in the next league game, which was against
Sociedad?
Yeah.
Real Sociedad 2-1, which Barcelona won.
And he was booed by the Camp Nou later on again. And what are your thoughts about that?
It's not common for Barcelona fans to normally boo their players.
They even booed Messi once.
Yeah, but
it happens, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really.
It happens in every big club, actually.
I'm not really sure what the issue with Coutinho is that the players have as such, because I don't feel there's a lack of work ethic or something like that. It's just not working. I understand that it's not working, but I don't feel that, I feel like if you boo a player, it's normally because, let's say, the person is not trying at all, as disciplinary issues, something like a person who's trying and it's just not working out for them is different. So I don't really know why, especially after the great goal that he had against Manchester United. So not really sure why.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
think his the space that he comes into. He has the same Dybala problem that Messi has while playing in Argentina. They both use the same space.
Yep.
So because of that, maybe it's difficult for him. It's a learning process to play with so many other good players, and his particular his particular issue is they've tried multiple positions with him, both in central midfield and as a left winger. Um, and I think Dembele is a more natural fit over there in the sense he brings something that is not available to the team. That is speed, raw pace, which Coutinho does not have. So maybe that also plays a factor over why maybe Coutinho is struggling a little bit at Barca.
Yeah. And I'm very sorry for you, Carlos, because your namesake Carlo Ancelotti couldn't win against Arsenal, and that's a pity because last night Arsenal lost in a very weird manner.
Yeah, classic Arsenal and very
Arsenal. We discussed this last week.
classic Arsenal. So I'm surprised that they actually won at Napoli, but I feel Napoli played not too bad. They could have won, but they did not play too bad. I was hoping that Ancelotti would be able to deliver a title for them, some title, something that Sarri
But
was
it's
not
still
able
his
to do.
first season and he can work on it.
True, it's his first season and he can work on it. But I feel this is a good chance. I did expect him to maybe Unai Emery. Obviously, he has
And if
a
it
fan-
comes at any consolation for the Napoli fans, even Sarri couldn't win any title with you, but he still
Mm.
did a phenomenal job at Napoli.
Right. So I think Unai Emery's record at UEL is fantastic. He's most likely going to win. He could probably win his
Yeah,
fourth.
he did a repeat with Sevilla.
And now
Yeah.
this is he could be potentially with his fourth title.
Yep.
So and obviously now from a neutral fan's perspective, this is in a way great because there is a lot of subtext in terms of the top four Champions League qualification. Both Arsenal and Chelsea are vying for the fourth spot. I don't think Manchester United would get into it right now. So one of them would be out of the top four. And both of them are live in the UEL, which gives them qualification to Champions League. So that's the only positive I can take out of this.
Yeah. I just recalled one thing and I want to ask you, Sean. You want United to win. Of course you want them to win every game, but do you want them to win against City? Because that will mean Liverpool winning the league.
No. It's plain and
So
simple.
you're happy for a draw?
Plain and simple. I'm happy if it lost. I'm happy it lost.
Yeah.
Let's look at the bigger. Let's be the bigger man. Let's look at the bigger picture. I'd rather not hear endless and endless counts of Liverpool fans going on and on every day about them winning the league. I'd rather hear about the fact and be pained for about a week of
It will
losing
be
to Man
really
City.
heartbreaking if, not for me personally, but for many football fans, even neutral fans, if Liverpool lose out on the league to Manchester City and then lose to Barcelona or maybe to Ajax or Tottenham in the final. That, anyways,
The reverse could happen. No, like you would have Man City win the league, Liverpool win the Champions League, and you are out of the top six, out of the top four.
that's a nightmare for you, isn't it?
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, Liverpool already did that in 2005 with Rafa Benitez. So
Yeah.
that gap distance isn't that big. That deal of it isn't that big. So
Yeah.
I can let that slide. But honestly, I think Liverpool will have a hard time. Is it a two-leg tie in the semi-finals for?
Yep.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. I can't remember so many matches.
Yeah.
I think it's still gonna be a very tough game for Liverpool against Barca. I think more as like a more skewed towards the EPL side. I want to see Liverpool win with this sort of narration of the story, but at the same time, you never know. All of a sudden, Messi could just turn on his not even A game, his A+ game on the day, and then all of a sudden you have Suarez poaching goals. You never know. You never know. It's the Champions League, for goodness sake. It's we've watched crazy comebacks this time, so yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited. Let's just put it as the fact that let's take away me being a Man U supporter. As a football fan, this is one of the most exciting Champions League seasons we've had, I think, in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And moving on, we should talk about Antracht versus Benfica. And away legs really changed the game a lot. Like
Away goals.
away goals, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you like the away goal rule? Because sometimes I feel it's a bit more partial. And
No, I think there's value to it. It's difficult to go away and win. Also, I think that otherwise it leads to longer matches,
Yeah,
injuries, and
that is
stuff like
true.
that. So I would prefer the away goal rule. I think also it adds a little bit of excitement onto the pitch. For example, you would see less teams going for the penalty shootout and more teams, attacking play, which is more interesting to see from a fan's perspective. Um, so I don't have any particular problem with it. I was unaware last week that iTract had a purchase option for Jovic. So they've completed a purchase option and they have bought Jovic. Most likely he's going to be sold this season, with both Barcelona and Madrid after him. And stronger reports of Real Madrid, or his interest towards Real Madrid, is being reported.
Yep.
But nothing concrete as such where there's any offer or any serious plans about him. Just a lot of
Yeah, but here's the interesting part. He rejected. It's rumored that he rejected Barcelona, that he doesn't want to be a back of Luis Suarez. But if he comes to Madrid, he will be a back of Benzema. So
I thought he did not want to come to Barcelona because he just did not want to come there, is what I thought.
no, it was like he doesn't want to be on bench. He wants to be a starter. And if he comes to Madrid, that's definitely not happening. Especially after that hat trick of Benzema last night.
And especially after Zidane's
Yep.
appointment. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Villarreal versus Valencia was a great game, and it was an expected result again. And I really think Valencia can go on to win the double Champions League and the Europa League and the Copa del Rey.
I think Europa League is possible. Copa del Rey, it's going to be really hard to defeat Barcelona and Valencia. In my perspective, they put their A game only against Real Madrid and nobody else. So let's see how it goes.
Likes of Guedes and stuff.
Guedes?
Here's the thing I like about La Liga, especially because no team is too small to beat the big teams, and especially if it's a cup final.
True, but I think this season Barcelona is going to be very revamped. They would want to go for the treble. They've not been in the semis of the Champions League for 3 years. They'll definitely want to win the Champions League this year. They've already pretty much wrapped up the league, and they could have their third treble in 10 years. So that's amazing and horrible as a Real Madrid fan. But I think Barcelona is a little more motivated this season, especially with Juventus and Ronaldo out of the Champions League also.
Yeah.
And Real Madrid out. And the fact that it's actually, I know it's not at Bernabeu, but the final is in Madrid.
Yeah, it is in Wanda Metropolitano.
Yep.
And Valencia won against Real Betis also, which is again thanks to Guedes with 2 goals, both of them the crucial goals in the 2-1 victory against Betis. And you see, here's a lot of stuff which journalists say in Spain, that if you don't watch Real Betis, you don't know about football, you don't love football at all. So it's a big deal beating Real Betis. So in a scenario, if Valencia do not win anything, they lose on to the Europa League and they lose to Barcelona in Copa del Rey, do you see Marcelino staying in Valencia?
I think he'll want to stay. I'm not sure if he'll be sacked. I mean, this is a typical Valencia season. Like, they're very inconsistent. They could really win against Barcelona and then lose against, I don't know, third division side. Like, that's them. But basically they have climbed up a lot recently. They are in contention for the top 4, I believe, even now. So I think if they reach the top 4, even if they lose anything, it wouldn't be that bad. It depends on...
They are fighting with Getafe for the Champions League.
Fourth spot, yeah. So I think if they hit the top 4 and even they don't win a title, it wouldn't be a bad season for them.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. Like, in the last season, when it was the start of the season, they were like contenders for the league title against Barcelona and stuff. And this season it's gone all wrong for them. And even with Sevilla, in the starting of the season, they were the table leaders, and all of a sudden they are fighting for the Europa League spot. But it's interesting. And the yellow submarine is sinking, I guess. Villarreal has been on the verge of elimination from the league itself, and it was a team which was used to be feared by even likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid. And what's happened to them? It's like they are 14th on the table right now with 36 points. And
They were close to relegation at a point of time.
like Valladolid is in relegation zone with 32 points, and so they are only 4 points off.
Yeah, so 14th is not bad. If they can keep the run, I think they would still stay in the.
Here's the thing about La Liga: if you take the group leaders away, the table leaders away, every team is like sitting 2 or 3 points away from each other. So it's a very tight race from Champions League to relegation.
So yeah, like you said, I think obviously Villarreal is not an economically heavy club, and also on top of that, generally Spanish teams like to play a very dominant style where they score or they play aesthetically good football, which is a very noble way to play. It might not always be the best strategy against a lot of teams. So they need a lot of players to play well and do well. So they don't really have that sort of a squad depth or anything like that right now. I think they will survive and they will stay in La Liga and probably will focus back on the scouting network, something that helped them under Pellegrini when Manuel Pellegrini was their coach, and previously for them to at least compete for the Europa League spots in future.
Yep, they should be. And moving on to Slavia versus Chelsea, I don't know if there's much to talk about in this game. And Chelsea hasn't played in the league this weekend, has it? Or is it playing tonight?
Chelsea.
Chelsea's playing tonight.
Yeah, against Burnley. And
yeah, against Burnley tonight.
So it's
not tomorrow actually. Tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's kind of tonight only because our time zone is weird, and I don't know if there's much to look forward to in this game except Hazard's trial for Real Madrid. That's what he's doing right now. Every game is a trial for Real Madrid. Any thoughts about that, Carlos?
I think Chelsea's next season objective after Eden Hazard leaves would be to somehow reach the top 4. This would be difficult for them, I would say, because I would expect some sort of investment or strategy coming out of Manchester United and maybe some improvement in them. So apart from that, I think both Spurs and Arsenal are currently better than Chelsea. When they lose Hazard, since that they cannot buy any of the players, I think in terms of quality, Chelsea would probably be the 6th side or maybe the 5th competing with Manchester United. So their only objective next season would be to reach the top 4 and somehow maintain some momentum so that they can buy players the next season. Of course, it would change if the ban is temporarily suspended for them.
Yeah, and maybe they can win the FA Cup or so. It would be nice to see Sarri lifting at least one cup or trophy, something. Yep. And we should also talk about Atletico Bilbao versus Real Madrid. It was not a good game by any means, but still Benzema recorded a hat-trick and reached his second best tally in the league of 21 goals. The best is of 24 goals, and he has 30 goals in total.
I think his best goals in all competition was 32 in the 2011-12 season.
So he's nearing that.
Yeah, he's very close to beating his personal targets.
So it's interesting because in a season where he was written off, where Cristiano left, he had 3 coaches changed. He was ruled out of the World Cup squad. He broke his finger and he went on to score 30 goals. So
it's a great season from him.
I guess, sorry to interrupt you, but I guess Benzema was one of the only players in Real Madrid squad who was actually doing something, like who actually took the responsibility on his own shoulders and did something. Even if he went on missing in some of the games, but still, if he scores 30 goals, he's pretty much done his job.
I agree. I think he Regulon, Llorente, and Vinicius are the only players who would have a positive end of season report.
Yeah.
And Benzema, I think he obviously, I personally did not expect him to score this much, which was great performance from him. It will be interesting if he can maintain this next season, and we can have somebody else as a goal threat, somebody like Hazard, and maybe one more
Yeah.
player for to make up for those big games and something
Yeah.
like that. So it would be interesting to see that. Having said that, Hazard does not have a great record in big games himself also. But yes, like I said, based on his current performance, he deserves to be the starting number 9 next season. But based on his overall history and our need for goals, it will be very important for us to get a very good number 9 as a backup, which is the hard thing to do.
Yep. And it just makes you wonder if likes of Bale scored 15 goals and maybe Asensio chipped in 5-10 goals more, and maybe Real Madrid would have been competing in all 3 titles right now. And anyway, Sean, would you like to have Bale in your team?
No. Very simply put, no. I mean,
Bale at 60 million.
no, not really. That's a bargain though for us other teams, but I think in terms of Manchester United themselves, Bale wouldn't be. Bale with his history, I mean, yeah, he's had his magical moment. I think he played it. Honestly, he played at his peak in that last season with Tottenham and hasn't been the same. Like being overshadowed by Cristiano Ronaldo and not playing up to expectations. I mean, paying so much for him and not playing up to expectations despite being overshadowed by Cristiano Ronaldo is just another thing coming. And I don't see any teams wanting Bale. Maybe apart from PSG, just for that glamour factor, or probably a Chinese team. But I don't think Man United or any other Premier League club should be looking.
He should
to
go
Bale.
to PSG. Every big name who has a lot
Every
of
big
money,
name.
he should go
Like,
to
I
PSG.
mean, look. If
PSG
you,
should buy Coutinho, Bale, and Ronaldo, and all these guys, and maybe they can win the Champions
I don't
League.
think they can afford it with the FFP in play though. But I mean, with look at Neymar. He's such a good player, but the moment he dumped himself into PSG with that kind of money, being the most expensive player in the world, yada yada yada. I mean, nothing's really come out from him apart from the money deal. So I'm just glad, as a Barca fan, I'm just glad he's gone from Barca with his kind of mentality. But Bale is just, I mean, his injury proneness, the amount of like special moments coming from Bale, yeah, they are there, but it's not worth justifying any other team right now buying Bale that is in the top tier sections. I mean, yeah, maybe a mid-range team might look into it, but yeah, I can't justify any of the top 6 in EPL or La Liga to be looking for him. Not Bayern Munich, maybe not. I mean, it was surprising that Bayern might even consider it. Who else in the Bundesliga? I can't even think of names. See, I can't even think of team names apart from PSG. It's reached the point for Bale.
Yeah. And let's see what happens. And there is a non-Patreon question from Kwasa Magnuni, and he says, I want to know what's behind Man United's dip in form. Is it fundamental, or can it easily be solved by buying more players? So I'll answer that later on, but first I want to know your take on that, Sean.
So yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant question. Thank you so much for that. And I think it's been discussed over and over again, and it's very evident in the fact that Man United's dip in form not only has come with first you have to answer why there's a rise in form. There's a rise in form in any team whenever they replace managers, regardless of where. I mean, look at Chelsea back when they replaced when they had an interim manager in Roberto Di Matteo, right? Ended up winning the Champions League. You have I'm just trying to think of.
Sanchez. Santiago Solari for Real Madrid.
Santiago Solari, yes, thank you. And that rise in form for Manchester United was just typical of having a replacement manager come in for all manager. I mean, players would be more motivated. They want to impress managers, etc. And those results were typical with what it was. And then after that, the honeymoon period is over. I mean, not appointing Solskjaer would have not made a difference, honestly. It was just to show more the faith that is put to him by the upper management, the faith that they are putting into Solskjaer now, especially with him and his history at the club. But the fundamental problem would be the players themselves. Not outright saying that buying more players would fix the problem. However, the mentality of the players ranging from, say, they're not performing up to par to what is expected of at Manchester United. I mean, starting off with one of the oldest players in the team. I mean, Ashley Young is just riding on his laurels of the fact that he's been with the team for so long. And I mean, him not being able to play at that level, he was a winger being brought back down to being a right back, and it's just you can't just ride on it. A player of that quality, I mean, if he was putting in a shift that was like above and beyond what's expected of him, I think I'll have more praise for him than it is. I mean, we're letting go of players like Valencia despite having served the club a lot. I'm a bit bummed out about that, but letting go of a player like Valencia because they're not up to that standard, yeah. And players themselves, like Pogba for himself, like, yeah, he has his moments, he had his form, but now with his recent drop in form, he should be taking ownership of it. The manager can only do so much, and I feel that Pogba should and needs to be a fundamental point of what going to next season for Manchester United. However, and I think he shows what it is to be a Manchester United player being through the academy. I mean, he went to Juve, but he's come back. And Rashford himself as well. I think Rashford has his run of form. He's a bit unlucky of late, but I think he's trying to actually like take responsibility. I mean, look at the way he was playing at the start against Barca. I think they got a little bit demotivated. I think that's a bit more human. They got demotivated going into that Barca match as the thing went on. But I think Rashford is trying to take responsibility for himself and he wants to score goals. Compare that to Anthony Marcel. Marcel is one manager after the other says, "Oh yeah, Solskjaer had a talk with Marcel, and to tell him that you have to take responsibility, you have to work towards it." And yeah, it just goes to show that you can have different managers. The idea of Manchester United is there. We want to play attacking football. We want to play the beautiful game again, and we want to score goals and play amazing football for the fans. Play attacking football. Play what is ingrained in the Manchester United fundamentals. But at the same time, the players have to understand you're playing for this club. You have to play at a certain standard. You have to play at the highest standard possible for Man U, and some of the players just aren't cutting it anymore. Like I personally feel that like players like Juan Mata, players like Phil Jones has been doing well, but players like Marcos Rojo and Ashley Young, I think the only point of non-contention would be having David De Gea and Sergio Romero in the freaking goal. That's all I can say. And it's gonna take a heck of an overhaul over this summer. But I mean, you have to have a manager. I think Solskjaer is the right manager. You have to have being trained by Ferguson to lead the team, to make sure that they understand what they're fighting for. They're fighting for the badge, and that they want to play. They want to go back to Man U's roots and just play good attacking football and just aim to win the league.
Yeah, that is very interesting, and I really admire your opinion. Here's a statistic which I have. It was Manchester United's last 8 games with Jose Mourinho. 3 losses, 12 goals scored, 13 conceded. And the last 8 games with Ole, 6 losses, 6 goals scored, and 16 goals conceded. So, such statistic makes you wonder that maybe Jose Mourinho was right all along, because Solskjaer, when he came, he said, alright, he was taking digs at Jose Mourinho. He was saying, okay, when you have such a phenomenal set of players, you can achieve a lot. You have to give them space, you have to give them freedom, and you have to make them very confident and stuff. You have to help them unlock themselves, like Paul Pogba's case and stuff. But eventually, when you lose games, and now Ole is speaking the same lines as Jose Mourinho, that the only ones who deserve to wear the shirt are the fans right now, who were more passionate and who were more worthy of the shirt and the badge, and the players aren't really up to that level. And eventually he's also asking for an overhaul, which you just talked about, and that was the same case Jose Mourinho was talking about in the start of the season. And he was like, okay, we need some backup, we need some centre back, and we need to do something about the problems we have right now. And I think the problem remains the same, the approach to the problem remains the same. It's just the man in the position who has changed. That's pretty much it. It's all same. So, do you have anything to add on, Carlos?
No,
Sean, sorry.
sorry, I agree to that. And there was this entire explanation by Gary Neville. I think a solid 3-minute video that you should just search up. I think he puts the problem succinctly, and from the start, I like Mourinho is an excellent manager. I am a huge fan of his, and I think that it came down to the players, and he was right. I'd never blame Mourinho for leaving. I mean, look at the way he's spoken about compared to other teams. Comparatively, just put it to Chelsea. I think he's talked about Man United way more nicely, and it's just come down to the players. And the change in Solskjaer's tone isn't that surprising, because what he said at the start, yes, that's what I see, that's what I'm gonna do, and then now coming out of 10-15 matches, right? He's just like, what I agree with what he said, but at the same time, there are players who do need to back up. Case in point, Anthony Marcel.
Yep.
Carlos?
Yeah, I agree with most of the comments made by both of you. Basically speaking, when Ole came in, there was only a slight mental push. I'm not saying that Ole should not have come in. I'm not saying that Jose Mourinho should not have been sacked, because basically there was no combination or a strong work ethic or a strong sort of bonding between the board, the manager, and the players. So I understand why he was sacked. But whatever Jose Mourinho basically has told was always true. The fact that their squad is actually not good enough, and that they definitely need a lot of things that need to happen to them. And I think it's very clear to see that the dip in form has come ever since Ole was officially announced as a manager. So I feel the players maybe don't have that much of a reason to prove anything more, or maybe something like that. I'm not really sure, but I think it's good for Ole that he's able to see this side. It helps him to decide who needs to be there next season and who does not need to be the next season. So in a way, it's good for him. And
similar towards Zidane's job at Real Madrid right now.
Correct, and it'll be very good for him to see, good to see how he approaches this. I've said this before. If any other club but Manchester United were to hire a manager, Ole would never make the list, most likely, because he's not really that big of a manager. I'm talking about not any club in sense. I'm not talking about major top clubs. So the fact that he got the job has a lot to do with the way he has performed, and the fact that I don't think so it would have been easy for them to get their primary targets in terms of Pochettino or anybody like that. So I want to give Ole the benefit of the doubt and see what happens next season, and I hope he takes into account what he sees right now into his decision-making process, and I hope the board backs him up.
Yeah, the final comment about this situation from me is that board eventually had to choose from Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba, and I don't know if they made the right choice right now, but I don't see Paul Pogba helping in any way. I don't see him in I sometimes feel that he should go back to Juventus or some other club. And having a bit of bias for Real Madrid, I don't see him doing well at Real Madrid either because of his professionalism and stuff. And he isn't really much loyal, and he isn't really much dedicated to his current club also. And I think Ole should open the door for him and bring in some more dedicated lad, or just give McTominay more time, and it will work wonders, I guess. So we have a couple of big games this weekend, or in the next weekend, I should say. One of them is, of course, the Manchester Derby, and then we also have Wolves versus Arsenal, and I think Wolves are a phenomenal team, and both of the sides are on equal level, somewhat. And any other game which you would like to talk about, Carlos?
The Manchester Derby is obviously the biggest game. Considering, I remember saying last season that last week that I expect both Man City and Liverpool to drop points before the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think in Man City's case, I think that would change now because they're out of the Champions League. Since this is the only major title left for them, I don't.
Yesterday I was checking my Facebook, and there was a meme saying like Klopp was very sad, and it said when you are really relying on Manchester United to beat Manchester City to win the league, and it was a sad one for them. Anyways, yep, carry on.
Yeah, so I think that they are most likely going to now win all the games. They'll come with that sort of mentality, and I think they'll learn from the loss. And I think they will take up the league title and probably end up with 3 titles this season.
Yep, and also Atletico Madrid plays Valencia, and another big game is Inter Milan versus Juve, which is really done and dusted, but still it's an interesting game if you were a fan of Serie A.
Juventus has already won the league.
Yep.
On a side note, Cristiano Ronaldo becomes the first player to win an EPL, a Serie A, and a La Liga title.
Also Jose Mourinho, but as a manager.
Oh yes, Jose Mourinho as a manager. So Ronaldo as a player.
Yep.
So I think the only side to this is Inter's quest to be in the top 3 for the Champions League. Icardi is getting a little more game time now to see what the dynamic over there is. I still think he'll be sold. And there's nothing, I wouldn't call it a big match anymore. It's just that Inter has something more to do, and Juventus is just waiting for the season to end.
Yeah, but in a competitive season, when both of the clubs were at the prime and stuff, it was a very interesting match. Now it's more like, okay, decaffeinated match. Anyways, so we would like to give a shout out to our non-Patreon who sent us a question. What was his name? Sorry. Kwasa Magnuni. Thank you so much for sending in your question, and please keep sending in your questions, and we will answer them on the podcast. And that's pretty much it. If you have any last comments, guys.
No, thank you for the questions. Please do add more questions. It helps us in discussing more.
Yep, that is true.
No, I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah. It is a pleasure to have you both here, and thank you so much. Keep watching football and keep listening to Futbol the Europa podcast. See you next week. Adios.